We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
I'm Mark Dolan, and it's time for headliners in the hot seat tonight. Sajila Kershi and Leo Kurz taking a first look at tomorrow's papers. Big stories, big opinions, big laughs, and Sajila's dress matches her fingernails. You can't argue with that. See you after the headlines with Polly.
Mark, thank you. The top story tonight on GB News. Clarence House says Prince Charles remains politically neutral after he reportedly described the government's migrant policy as appalling. It comes after the High Court ruled the first deportation flight to Rwanda can go ahead on Tuesday. Campaign groups are expected to appeal. The Times newspaper, though, is reporting that a source heard the Prince of Wales say he was more than disappointed by the policy during a private conversation. Conservative MP John Whittingdale told GB News the plan is sensible.
The people who will be sent to Rwanda are young males who are economically active, where there is a shortage in Rwanda. There is not in this country. We have problems being created by the level of migration. In Rwanda, they want to have migrants, and the people trying to get to this country do so because they want to be economically active and to be able to earn money, which they will be able to do. So on the basic policy, I have no great difficulty. I think it meets a number of objectives.
Well, with the government's Rwanda policy in the spotlight, protesters took to taking action in southeast London as immigration officers tried to arrest a man suspected of overstaying his visa. Police were called to Peckham, where dozens of people had gathered to block a van sent to collect him. The accused was eventually released on immigration bail. The Home Office says, though, demonstrations like that won't deter officers from doing their job. The family of a man given a death sentence for fighting Russian forces in Ukraine say they are devastated. Sean Pinner and another British man, Aidan Aslin, were found guilty of mercenary activities by a court in the separatist region of Donetsk. In a statement, Mr Pinner's family described it as an illegal show trial and said he should be given the same rights as any prisoner of war. And the family of a teenager who was killed at his home in Manchester has paid tribute to the boy, describing him as a hero. 15-year-old Jakub Szymanski was stabbed while reportedly trying to protect his mother, who was injured in the attack. It happened in the Miles Platting area on Thursday night. A 44-year-old man who is known to both victims has been arrested on suspicion of murder. Critics of the government's food strategy for England have described a leaked draft as a half-baked blueprint. They're concerned key recommendations from a major review are being ignored, including the introduction of sugar and salt taxes to help transform the nation's diet. Campaigners also accused ministers of goading farmers into producing more meat. The White Paper is expected to be published on Monday. That's it. You're up to date on TV, online and on your radio via DAB+. You're with GB News, where now it's time for Headliners.
I'm Mark Dolan and welcome to Headliners, a first look at tomorrow's papers. Tonight I'm joined by two sartorial peacocks of the comedy circuit, resplendent Sajeela Kershi and plendent, that is a word, Leo Kearse. Leo, rocking TK Maxx's finest apparel tonight.
£50. They can have that advert on GB News for free.
Last night I was praising Primark. Tonight I will get behind TK Maxx.
T-shirt Primark, £2.
You are, I think you need a pay rise.
Well, I think somebody in Bangladesh
Whip round for Mr. Kearse.
Some children definitely need a pay rise somewhere. This is £2.
But don't you think, like TK Maxx, we do mention them quite a lot on the show, and I think they should start giving us the clothing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, is it Loose Women? They get, like, clothing given to them.
Yes, they
Come
do.
on, guys, give us some clothing.
That's right.
We'll happily wear your stuff and advertise it, like, ruthlessly.
For people that don't know about TK Maxx, it's basically a shop where everything's on sale.
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. But yeah, we could do the Oscars red carpet thing.
Yeah.
Like, who are you wearing?
Yeah.
TK.
What are you wearing?
and listen, a quick word on the nails, because they are very coordinated with your blouse.
Yeah, they're more sort of orangey kind of, because I thought summery shade. I couldn't quite get the red today because I like my reds.
Well, I think you're
red and
giving
blue
it
today.
You're giving it the full Cruella de Vil.
I am,
and we're loving every second. Lots of stories to get through, but first, let's take a look at tomorrow's front pages, and let's start with the Sunday Telegraph. Tories at war over calls to cut taxes. Sources close to Johnson clash as MPs demanding urgent action are told to grow up. Also, Iran dangerously close to getting the bomb. And agency staff may be used to break, in inverted commas, Marxist union strikes. Next up, The Guardian. Families broken by unregulated court experts, and Johnson faces rural fury over post-Brexit food strategy. Anger grows before West Country poll. Plans to aid farmers have been stripped to the bone. Sunday Mirror now. James Bulger exclusive. Dominic Raab gives hope of justice at last. Murdered toddler James Bulger could get justice after a long wait. His mum, Denise Fergus, met the Justice Secretary Dominic Raab ahead of a parole bid by one of James's killers. Denise has said, "I left with hope." Next up, shall we go to the Sunday Times, Jake? Let's have a look at Charles. Prince Charles won't be Prince Charming if he keeps on meddling, say ministers. That's the topic of my big opinion monologue, which you'll find on Twitter via @GBNews. Scorchio gets set to swelter like Spain. And Johnson turns his back on the green agenda. The cost of living crisis forces a rethink on rewilding. And thousands of miles from Kyiv, Putin's war is taking food from millions. Sunday Express now, as the Prince of Wales is reported calling Priti Patel's Rwanda migrant scheme appalling. MPs and royalists warn him, stay out of politics, Charles. Plus, smugglers boast on TikTok how easy it is to get across the channel as the UK spends £1 billion housing them. Daily Star Sunday. Convicts doing community service told to work from home and make a scarf. Nitwits is the headline in the Daily Star Sunday. They very rarely disappoint, and those are your front pages. Let's kick off with The Observer, and Putin's actions seem to have emboldened China, Leo.
Yeah, that's right. So, as we know, Taiwan, which is an island off the coast of mainland China, that sees itself as independent, but China doesn't see it as independent. So China says it'll start a war if Taiwan declares independence, according to Defence Minister Wei Fenghe. No idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I think he's got other stuff to worry about than my pronunciation. So he said this in Singapore, and the US Defence Secretary, of course, denounced as destabilising words. I mean, at a time when I don't know how China can look at what Russia's doing in Ukraine and be like, oh, well, that seems to be going so well for them. I mean, look at them now that all their yachts have been seized, and you know they've lost so many lives and so much, they're destroying their own economy for the sake of, you know, they've got about 3 turnip fields in eastern Ukraine. It doesn't really seem worth it.
Well, people forget history, don't they? Forget how World War I and War II was started. I think it's a little bit like I don't know, if I can't have you, Taiwan, then no one will have you, Taiwan. But, you know, China, who knew that you were so passionate and sexy?
Well, indeed. And Taiwan is a desirable love object.
A love object,
keeping with that theme.
Coveting it.
Taiwan is not an obscure outpost. It's an economic and political powerhouse. You know, and Taiwan is a huge hub of economic activity.
Yeah, and strategically important in that sea. I can't remember what that sea is called, but yes,
manufacturing output.
Oh yeah, and that predates the Chinese economic boom. So you know, since the 50s, Taiwan has been this economic powerhouse. And it's hugely important in the region. But it's not I mean, it'd be much more difficult for China to invade Taiwan as Russia to invade Ukraine, because I mean, it's basically flat land between Russia and Ukraine. Taiwan, there's a big sea in the way, so you'd have to get across there. In Taiwan, they've made themselves a sort of hedgehog state, so they've got a lot of defences to stop China ever trying to do it.
Would the West handle an attack on Taiwan differently to Putin's attack on Ukraine, Leo?
Well, President Joe Biden said during a visit to Japan in May that Washington would defend Taiwan militarily if China ever attacked Taiwan, and that's a clear declaration. Previously, you know, Washington has had a policy of strategic ambiguity, where they said, well, we might, but we might not, to sort of, you know, like Putin does with the missiles. He says, well, we might nuke you, and then everybody's a bit scared to do anything. So you know, there's no ambiguity there. America's saying, yeah, if you touch Taiwan, if you invade Taiwan, you're getting nailed.
It is like fighting over a woman, isn't it, in a way? It really is.
But a really hot woman.
A really hot woman.
You.
Obviously,
fighting over Sajila Kershi.
Oh, God, my days of men fighting over me.
With the nail varnish is a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
Has that happened before?
Yeah. Have they fought for me before? Well, that would be telling, wouldn't it? And it doesn't matter what I say, because it's like, that's the past now anyway. So the spokeswoman, the Ministry spokeswoman over there, Joanne Owl, do you remember Jo Lau? She was a comedian on the circuit, very good. Anyway, she
gone places. She's come a long way since comedy.
She's come a long way, yeah. She's done very well for herself. So she said Taiwan has never been under the jurisdiction of Chinese government, and the people of Taiwan will not succumb to threats of force from the Chinese government. Good on you. So you know, this Taiwan, if it was a woman, is fighting back and saying nobody's the boss of me.
Yeah. OK, well, look, there's trouble in the east, but let's move on now. The Sunday Express, Sajila, and whilst Putin inspires China, it seems like America have been inspired by the Conservatives.
Oh, gosh, well, the UK are obviously starting a trend. Joe Biden has, and also, I don't know, Joe Biden's not necessarily complis mentis, in my opinion, only in my opinion. And so I don't know how much of this is like he sees things and thinks that maybe that's a good idea, but I don't know, not have an idea. So Joe Biden's basically proposing sending refugees from Latin America to Spain, and he's promised a crackdown on illegal immigration into the USA. So kind of following Rwanda kind of model, if you like. However, this kind of differs a little bit because he's saying that, you know, he's basically wanting to provide pathways for people from poorer countries to work in richer ones, and other countries are agreeing to this. Now, a few years back in 2018, you may or may not know this, but there was a global compact signing in Marrakesh, where 152 nations signed this compact to kind of agree that they would be safe. We'd work collectively as continents and, you know, come together to ensure that there were safe and legal passages so that you wouldn't have these the people smugglers and etc. And I know this because I was at the global compact signing. I was their only comedian that they'd booked.
That's a tough corporate gig, isn't it?
You perform comedy.
Who books that gig? Yeah, and I was the inspirational speaker, yeah, so inspiring that basically I still had to be censored on what I said. So and
they came up with the Rwanda plan after that.
Yeah, they were going back to Rwanda. Got plan after. Thought, yeah, let's get rid of Sajila. The thing is, I quite like that he's going for a different approach, which is like bring. And I don't know why we can't adopt that. It's like have Labour, have them come over for a temporary visa and let them work, and then go. Because a lot of the migrants want to come over and have a better life.
Sajila, we need to fix your microphone. Whilst we do that, Leo, how ironic that the world's most woke politician, Joe Biden, is now considering such an evil policy that's been rolled out by Priti Patel.
Yeah, and I wonder if all these leftists who are so scathing of Rwanda will think it's OK to be sent to Spain, which, to me, reeks. All these Guardianistas who say, oh, no, we can't send people to Rwanda. It's a terrible country. What if they say it's OK to send people to Spain just because, Hillary and Joe Biden think it's OK to send people to Spain? It reeks of racism, frankly, on the left. They're definitely the new racists. But yeah, this is kind of it's making it a bit awkward that like our plan to deal with illegal immigrants is now just to send them to like a faraway place.
Yeah.
So for America, it's Spain. For us, it's Rwanda. For Rwanda, it's probably Iceland. It's
I think if we keep doing this, if we keep passing the immigrants, if we keep passing like the parcel, like a very inhumane thing to do, but we don't probably end up in our sort of country of origin.
Well, yeah.
And I'll go to... where would you like to go? Because I think, why don't you kind of try this scheme out first?
I'd like to stay right here. I'd like to stay right here in the greatest country on God's earth. That's why everybody's trying to get into it.
Well, if you're going to endorse the Rwanda scheme, I think you should... I think we should vote for Leo to go over there and check it out.
I would love to go to Rwanda. In fact, if I was a refugee fleeing France to come to the UK, I would far rather go to Rwanda than go to Dundee.
I'll throw your papers away in the water as well, so that when you get there, you can't get back.
Well, I read the papers on my phone, so...
I'll take the phone as well.
I'm inspired by this. I might try to enter America illegally just so I get a couple of months in Ibiza.
It's quicker and easier to
would be nice.
Tenerife is technically Spain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't play with Americas.
Fly to Tenerife for $5.99 on Ryanair. I mean, you land in Madrid.
I'd rather go in a dinghy. Let's move on now to the Mail on Sunday with news that pasta and bread might soon go the way of petrol, Leo.
Yeah, so Putin's forces are apparently deliberately targeting wheat fields in Ukraine to try and reduce the crop that Ukraine can export. And this comes on top of the Russians are blockading Ukrainian ports to stop wheat getting out. There's 20 million tons of grain sitting in silos at the Black Sea port of Odessa. I reckon this is part of a strategy to starve people in the Middle East, because so much of that grain goes to the Middle East and Africa. So he wants to starve people in the Middle East and Africa to generate a new wave of instability in those regions and generate a new wave of migrants coming north, coming into Europe, as he did in 2014 and 2015 when he took part in the Syria campaign, which he's still involved in, and created so much instability there and sent Syrian refugees, who are still coming up to Europe, and caused a lot of instability, which definitely contributed to Brexit and contributed to Europe breaking up. They're using missiles, and apparently it's questionably legal because they're not using them to target armaments. They're using them to hit economic facilities and grain and things like that. And also they're running out of accurate missiles. So all their accurate cruise missiles have been used up, and now they're just firing these haphazard rockets that they've got left over. It's good. On one hand, it suggests that Russia might be running low on ammunition, but it's bad because that's going to mean more civilians die.
Let's now head over to the Sunday Times, Sajila. The rest of the world might be in trouble, but with this story, luckily on the home front, it's all going to be plain sailing.
It's going to be plain sailing. Nothing to see here. Just a little bit of retro striking.
Who's going on strike now? Not comedians, I hope.
No. Well, I don't know how we'd strike, actually. I don't think anybody would care. No one's going to be picketing for us, are they? Doctors and lawyers are threatening strikes over pay. They claim that their real wages had fallen by 22% in 12 years and that rising inflation was accelerating losses. Now, they say, the officials, that this strike, it would take place I know you're scared when it's going to take place. It will take place by early next year at the latest.
Crumbs.
So, you know, there's an urgency, obviously. We're going to wait till next year because they're really angry.
But Sajila, look, I know that you are of a left persuasion.
I have never hidden my lefty ways.
And I would say that unions are important. We would
Yes.
be living in Dickensian Britain without them.
Absolutely.
Things like the minimum wage are a very good policy. But the bottom line is the country is knee-deep in debt. We're in a deficit at the moment, which means even current day-to-day spending is being paid for through borrowing. And that will be the case for the foreseeable future, certainly for the next 3 to 5 years. So at the moment, no one's getting a pay rise, are they?
Well, they are actually. The rich always get richer. They are getting pay rises. And actually, the reason why we're in this state, and this does reek of sort of Thatcher kind of era when we had a lot of striking going on. I mean, I think it was winter of discontent then.
Yeah,
We're just going to have a lot of seasons of discontent.
That was under Labour, don't forget.
Do you think we're going to be discontented if the lawyers go on strike? I mean, who's going to exploit people's misery and leach off them and break up families? Actually, my wife's a lawyer. I shouldn't say anything, but they do when they're starting, when they're juniors, or I can't remember. There's a term for young junior barristers. I can't remember what it is, but when they're starting out, they really do get paid quite low amounts.
It's £12,000 for new lawyers.
Yeah,
and that's way beneath the cost of living.
It's not even going to cover the interest on their student loans.
So it does take a sort of special person that does these jobs, and junior doctors earn 35k. Although I have to say that the criminal lawyers, they go from 12k to 60k in a few years' time. So you're sitting pretty, aren't you?
Yeah, tell me about it. But I mean, I've
got
to say, I don't think we even have to debate this, do we? The cupboard's bare. The country's broke.
Yeah, the country's broke, but why
is there even a debate?
The country is broke, but also these people still have their costs, and I'm going to be pro-union always, and the unions are there to protect us all. Now, you are a member of Equity, yeah. So it's a union that protects you as an artist, right?
But if they get their way, they will kill the economy. They'll make inflation even higher, because if these pay rises are forthcoming, that will be done through more printing of money, which is inflationary.
I don't think it's going to. I don't think that the way that negotiations are going to work, they're not going to get everything that they're asking for, but there will be something. It's about negotiating and meeting in the middle somewhere. Hopefully that can work.
Some of these lawyers with legal aid, it's created an industry. So, for example, with human rights lawyers, the people who represent the people coming across the channel in dinghies, who are, I mean, it's known that they're economic migrants.
You're obsessed with the migrants.
Well, it's in the news a lot right now.
Absolutely obsessed.
An industry funded by the taxpayer. Basically, the whole thing, the taxpayer pays at every point, pays for their hotels, pays for their lawyers. It's insane. It's a cyclical
and I wonder who caused that.
Money-sucking
but I wonder who caused that. You see, that was a decision. Remember that, that's right, we were going to go for Brexit because one of the things that we sold Brexit on, and one of the things that we always sell any politics on, what Biden's trying to get his thing now, it's always around migrants. It's always around immigration, immigrants, illegal, they're coming over here, they're taking everything, and that's always used. I don't know why you laugh, because you've done well in your career by kind of having a go at them. But the thing is,
having a go at them.
Yes,
I am a migrant.
You are not a migrant.
I am a migrant.
You are not a migrant.
And I'm from a mixed race family.
Yeah, well, I think
I've got to say, my wife is
you are not a mixed race family.
My wife is from a completely separate country.
Leo is an immigrant, and we were asleep at the wheel when he got in, but
now I'm pulling up the ladder.
Talk about Scottish values. Talk about British values.
He threw his mobile phone and his papers into a field when he crossed Hadrian's Wall.
It was Rebecca Vardy's phone.
I don't know why we let you in. I really don't. I don't know why we let you in.
Briefly on that one, I mean, we have very high net migration into the UK. There's no clear evidence from recent polling that the Brits object to the principle of migration in the tens or even hundreds of thousands. They voted for Brexit so that it would be our decision as to who comes and who doesn't. But most importantly, you cannot conflate legal migrants with people crossing the channel, breaking the law to enter this country.
Absolutely.
OK, so we've gone from strikes, right, and the point I was making about Brexit, which, of course, as I say, now you're both obsessed with migration, because I was actually referring to the strikes, right, which was
you mentioned
basically the Brexit. No, the Brexit.
You started it.
Yeah, I started the Brexit thing because Brexit basically has led to what's happened in the... and, of course, it's under the same government, and what's been happening, you know, during lockdown, that was all down under this government. It's not done under Labour government, although I don't have much to say about Labour either. But
they
it's
wanted
not
more lockdowns, Sajid.
They did. Oh, please! Can we stop this?
Still be
This
in
tribal.
lockdown.
Can we stop this tribal thing? It's like
tribal.
our people didn't want this. Your people wanted that. No, we're all the same. We are all
called Freedom Day.
We
reckless.
are all the same, right? We are all having the same issues, the same fights, everything. It doesn't matter if you're right. It doesn't matter if you're left. It doesn't matter if you're a child of an immigrant. If you're not a child of an immigrant, we've all got the same stuff going on right now.
Well, if you were somebody that was saying for 2 years, don't shut the economy down for a respiratory virus, then you're not the same as everyone else.
If
you're somebody that said don't shut down the economy for 2 years for a respiratory virus, then you're not the same as everyone else.
No, it was a world pandemic, right? Let's just get this straight as well. This whole argument about should we have done this during lockdown, should we not? I don't know. I actually don't know because I'm not a medical person.
Well,
and I'm not a person who's making the decisions.
Those people are the same people on the left who are now pushing for pay rises.
Oh my God. It's like, can you not see that they are in exactly the same position as all of us? So if they just happen to be with the union and they're asking the unions to fight for them.
We could afford those.
So what is it? OK, I don't have all the answers, Mark. Do you have the answers to this? I don't know what the answer is.
Well, it involves going back in time 2 years and not shutting the country down.
Which, of course, and then who was responsible for that, though? Was it this government? Your people, the right? If we're going to be tribal?
Absolutely, which is why I've been very critical of Boris Johnson for 2 years for giving in to Sage, Valence and Whitty.
But
anyway, go on, Leo. Thoughts on this?
The lockdown.
Well, how do we unpick all of this?
I think we're just, because we've got such low unemployment right now, workers know that they've got a lot of leverage, because it's not like you can get new people in to fill these roles. And, to be honest, junior doctors, they are quite lowly paid. I mean, junior doctors could get a 20 grand pay rise by quitting and becoming a tube driver. That's how ridiculous it is. And what's easier, like doing brain surgery or driving a tube train that doesn't even have a steering wheel?
And Sajila, I actually take your point, right, which is it is now 2002, what is it? June the 9th?
I have no idea what day it is.
12th of June, 11th? Right? It's the 12th of June. And you are so right, which is we are where we are. And there's actually no point. I argue this with Brexit people, because I voted Remain. It's like, folks, Brexit's happened, move on. And you don't want to be banging on about Brexit. It's happened. And I agree with you, the same about lockdowns. It's in the past, it's happened. But my point or my question is, we are where we are. The cupboard's bare, the country's skint. So who deserves a pay rise? I would argue that lots of people deserve a pay rise.
Me.
But yeah, we do.
There isn't anybody who justifies it with a country in such economic trouble.
OK, so are we having a go at doctors?
Yeah.
I don't want to have a go at doctors because I think they've earned that. I think they've earned those rises. I think they worked beyond...
What did they do during lockdown? Tell me one thing doctors did during lockdown.
Oh gosh, honestly, I said I'd give him Chinese birds under the table.
Is a pay rise for doctors, is that worth an extra percentage of inflation?
It's not. At the end of the day, we can argue this out, but who is responsible? It's our government.
Fair point, absolutely right. It's all about opinions. Brilliant point there from Sajila, and of course the great debate with Leo alongside her. Lots more to come in part 2. Wokery has gone mad, apparently, then madder, then even madder. Find out why after the break.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
we're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Mark Dolan, and helping me take a look at tomorrow's papers are the brilliant comedians Sajila Kershi and Leo Kearse. Now let's crack on and let's go to the Sunday Telegraph, where perhaps working from home isn't the great force for democracy it's been sold as, Sajila.
Oh, OK. So we are moving on a little bit more after our lengthy little discussion earlier on. So I don't know if this is more propaganda or, to make people go back to the office, because I never trust anything. So I just think, I wonder if this is coming from somewhere else. Yes. But anyway, basically how working from home is making Britain more unequal. So staying from the office boosts affluent areas, but has a worrying effect on poorer communities. And this is the Resolution Foundation who are warning this. So the positive areas outside of London, the working from home boost is likely to particularly benefit relatively affluent areas like Rochford, Castle Point, East Cambridgeshire and South Staffordshire, for example, all the areas that I don't really know. On the other hand, like not where it's not working so much because of financially like the sort of less affluent is areas like Manchester, Newcastle, Norwich, all of which have got more deprived English local authorities, and they've estimated to have lost out in the new working from home trends. So, I mean, that's interesting because we haven't really considered, I guess, the long-term effects of working from home. Like, I mean, the genie's out of the bottle. Once you've had remote working, you know, it's unlikely that people want to then go back to the office, and that's quite right, because I know we talked about this before in the show, didn't we, Mark? Where we are going to have to look at the new, what normal is, and just deal with it. And yes, of course, if everything's sinking down, the economy and everything else, you know, the unions, whatever, everything else that comes out from the news, then perhaps this is one more thing that we have to kind of iron out and work. And
I think you're right. I think your metaphor of the genie out of the bottle is very apposite. That the bottom line is that work from home has worked for millions of people. If they've got kids, they can take their kids to school, pick them up at 3:30 in the afternoon. If they've got pets, they can look after them. And many feel that they're actually more productive at home, and they save a fortune on commuting.
And, you know, you can access porn if you want to, unlike the politicians. You have to do it in the workplace. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. This story, the whole essence of this story is rich people have a better time working from home, and it's like rich people have a better time everywhere because they're rich. That's the whole point of getting rich, and they should have a better time. Rich people should. What's the point of anybody doing anything if it's all exactly the same? So you know, if you're rich, you get a better car, you get a better Russian bride, you get a better Fabergé egg. If you're poor, you get boring, chocolate eggs or no eggs or an egg that came from a chicken. So, rich people have a better time working from home. Yes, they do, and they should do.
Good point. So should we then maybe get rid of rich people and make them go to Rwanda?
How about we aspire to be rich people ourselves, and then we could have a nice time working from home?
It'll never catch on.
Yeah.
I mean, the issue is that I agree with you. We must adapt. It's a bit like Brexit, isn't it? Which is that some people love Brexit, some people don't like Brexit. But what Brexit is it's a reset for the economy. It's a recalibration. It's a shock which will be adapted to over time. And I think work from home is like that too. And I think work from home will come at a price. We have to accept that, don't we? That it will impact communities. It will, in the short and medium term, perhaps affect the economy too.
I think, I know you said about cafes and bars and all that stuff, but then actually, isn't there a case to be made for working from home and remotely when the cost of living is so high that, you don't have to pay? And obviously, I know that, in London-based organisations, like there'll be like London waiting issues, which they have to kind of battle through. But once we get through this, I think it's a force for good because it's like a much better work-home life for all of us.
What about productivity? What about idlers, people who are lazy?
Oh, the skivers, they still need to be in trouble. They still need to be called to HR. I'm sorry. I ain't got time for the skivers.
Isn't it harder to police lazy workers from home?
No, I don't think it is, because I think you still see what work they're doing. But I definitely think the skivers need to go to HR and be told off. Little smack, 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 naughty, naughty, naughty.
Make them turn up once a week for their dressing down. See, I told you we'd see Cruella de Vil. Didn't take long. The Mail on Sunday, Leo, and a story that in San Francisco, crime does pay, or at least it used to.
No, crime doesn't pay. This is the DA, the district attorney. I always wondered what a DA was. I watched all those cop films. They're always talking about a DA. So district attorney is sort of like the head of the CPS for a city, like the Keir Starmer of a city, but probably more effective. Apart from in San Francisco, where they had a DA who wasn't effective. He was elected in 2019, and his pledge was to sort of lock up fewer people, particularly black and brown people, because this is in the wake of Black Lives Matter and all the rest of it. So 60% of San Franciscans have voted to recall him from office because his policies have been an absolute disaster. San Francisco is now a hellhole of rampant open-air drug abuse, car break-ins, aggressive shoplifting. I don't know how that's different to regular shoplifting. Homeless encampments and fouling of pavements with human excrement. And there's 10,000 homeless in California.
Yeah.
So, people, obviously San Francisco is a super woke place, everybody's nicey, but the old saying is, a conservative is just a liberal who's been mugged. And now they're finding out that when push comes to shove, all these nicey woke liberals actually want some law and order in their streets when it's just, rows of tents with homeless people. So Gwyneth Paltrow, Kim Kardashian, Katy Perry and Snoop Dogg are showing support for more hardcore candidates. Down in LA, they've got a more, a harsher former Republican candidate called Rick Caruso, who's looking likely to be elected down there as well. And it's funny to see all these wokeists who, 2 years ago, they're all, Black Lives Matter and defund the police. And now they're like, well, actually, we tried that. Didn't work very well. Let's refund the police.
Yes, I mean, America is a useful political and social control in the experiment, isn't it? Because different states with different policies can be very instructive about what the best policies are.
I'm sorry, I was listening to you, Leo, but I was just kind of reading this thing about Snoop Dogg, basically saying on Instagram, we need Rick to get our streets cleaned up and functioning. Well, Snoop Dogg and all your celebrity friends, and who was defecating on the street? Was it Amber Heard? Sorry,
in bed.
But all these,
another defamation suit there,
or defecation suit even. But yeah, all these like famous people like saying that they want law and order. Why don't they contribute and help because initially it was to stop basically if you're poor, you're stealing food, then let that kind of. I think there was some good evidence in that. But obviously you can't have free for all. But they could be doing a little bit more for the communities.
Yeah. I'm certain you're right about that. Well, let's move on now to The Independent and a story about racism at Lancashire University that contains within it a surprising twist, Sajid.
Oh, yes, this is like a little twist. We love a little twist, don't we? So Lancaster University suspended black students who blew whistle on racist incidents. So 2 black students spoke out after they'd basically seen a white peer who had basically done the unholy trinity of racism, which is a racial slur, plus the N-word, plus a swastika on the chest.
Swastika?
The swastika.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, swastika on the chest. So it's quite heavy going, and this is serious stuff. And so they obviously went to the student board and told them, and in response to all the social media posts, the university leaders told the black students on Monday that they had been suspended for bringing the organisation into disrepute, and whilst the investigation into race and complaints against their white peer remain ongoing. So quite shocking, isn't it? Shocking, but the twist is, and I'm not sure that these poor girls didn't see this, is that the guy, yes, all these things happened. These 3 racial slurs were on the chest, and it was posted, but it was posted by a guy who was playing a drinking game, which is basically what is the most offensive thing you can post. And so he basically then, the most offensive thing, and his girlfriend, who's black, wrote this on his chest, and somebody, he said, he had given no consent to have his photograph taken, had taken the photo and then posted it. So it's obviously going to be investigating. That's quite, but I feel sorry for the 2 girls, because what they've done, and which is what a lot of people do, is they'll see something, and this is all sides, right? This is all sides, whether it's racism, whether it's transphobia, or whether it's left and right. When did we start hating each other so much? But if it's whoever it is, they'll see one word, especially Twitter. It's really you see one word and then you just take offence because you think that's the thing that's against you, and they haven't really
without the whole story. Yeah. Without the context of knowing that this is a drinking game where people had to do the most outrageous things. We got these games now like Cards Against Humanity, where it is the most, you do the most outrageous things and it becomes a hilarious thing. And it's not done with any malice or with any intent to bully or make somebody feel bad.
But it's in that moment as well. It's in that moment between... So, obviously, these girls didn't know this. They don't have privy... But that photo being posted, I guess, I feel sorry that they've been... The universities handle this really, really badly, and it does come in the wake of universities being accused of racism, but they could have handled this better, spoken to the girls and told them a little bit more what's going on. But we don't know who the couple is, because, I don't know, you've got to move on.
Well, look, it is a very strange story, which seems to have come full circle. Let's see if we can squeeze in 1 or 2 before the break. Mail on Sunday next, and... I remember when sex education at school was just a picture of nude hippies. So what are the kids being taught nowadays, Leo?
Well, have you got that picture? Sounds great.
On my phone.
Brilliant. We'll see that after. Well, this is another education thing. So basically schools are farming out their sex education. It's in the curriculum that you've got to deliver sex education. They've got a private contractor called BISH, which stands for Best in Sexual Health. Charges £500 a day, which you could actually hire somebody to have actual sex with you for that. But they deliver these sex education sessions at schools, but in their online guide they've got a section on rough sex, and they claim that being blindfolded, held down and having pain inflicted or being held captive are some of the things you can do. And it's you shouldn't be telling children this. This could go terribly, terribly, terribly wrong. They list choking as an activity you can do, even though non-fatal strangulation became a crime last week as it was included in the domestic abuse bill. So it seems like ridiculous advice for children. So they've also got the standard sort of woke thing of you can't say a man's penis, you've got to say a person's penis and all that sort of stuff. But basically, there's a lack of regulation in this sexual health delivery. So these people are delivering this training, this education at some of the top schools. You've got Westminster School and King's College School in Wimbledon. So if your children go to either of those schools, they're getting taught to choke people.
I think this is disgusting, this story. These people need to really... Because the thing is, we do need reform on sex education, I think, in the schools and what our children are learning. Because you've got to understand that, young people get... access to porn really easily, and it's not real sex. We're not teaching about real sex. What sex is like. What sex is like in a loving relationship. It's porn is centered around what men want. And it can be it can be degrading and dehumanizing women as well.
That sounds good.
There is I guess, like there is an ethical porn out there which shows that there is. I know you're laughing, but there is actually ethical porn out there. I did some research.
Well, and also what happens in ethical porn?
Ethical
they
porn.
eat couscous or something?
They eat organic couscous.
Right. Well, also
before they take them out for dinner and they wine and dine them, and then
what rhymes with that? But also the thing with this, I mean, if you're a teenager, you don't need to be choked and slapped and all the rest of it to get your rocks off. When you get to our age, you do need to do all that stuff. You need to dress up in a rubber suit and watch videos of Labradors and all that sort of stuff. But young people don't need that. Why don't deliver that sex education to young people? Deliver it to us.
It's also obviously there's this fetishising stuff as well. But like, young people, I don't want like their foray into sex to be including like thinking it's okay to strangle women. It's appalling. That's disgusting.
Does it tell us that the sort of extreme woke end of this ideology is amoral? That it wants to normalise these strange fetishes? That this whole kind of woke idea that everything's groovy, man, goes to this extent, and that's why it's so bad.
I don't think this is woke. I think this. Really? I don't know if this is woke at all.
An example of wokeism?
I think it's pretty woke, but I don't think these are strange fetishes or strange sexual practices. They're strange in the context of school sex education. You should be teaching about safe sex and basically not having sex, and not getting STDs, and not getting pregnant. That's the stuff. Not weird Eurotrash style dressing up as a teddy bear in the woods.
Yeah, there's levels, and we've got to start at level 1, not at level 50.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I must get my teddy bear outfit to the dry cleaners. Please join us for the final section when we'll discuss Putin's poo, some terrible advice from Tom Cruise, and the secret to a long life if you're a man. See you soon.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started. Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
I'm Mark Dolan and welcome back to Headliners, a first look at tomorrow's papers. Tonight in the company of the brilliantly talented Sajila Kershi and Leo Kearse. Lots of stories to get through in this final section. Tomorrow's Daily Star is where you'll find a great dentist story via the gym. Leo.
Oh, yeah, so basically, I shouldn't laugh, actually. There could be some fat people watching who'll find this incredibly upsetting, but a dentist surgery has been accused of fat-shaming its patients after it banned anyone over 20 stone from sitting in its chair. So, you know, dental chairs, they've got loads of buttons, they can move around and stuff. They're very expensive. They cost £20,000. That could pay for 5 lawyers. So, you know, you don't want to break them, and they've already been broken twice by some of their heavier customers. Although you'd think the heavier customers would be the best best customers for a dental surgery, you know, all those sweets and cakes. So they've written to the customers saying, listen, if you're a big fat one, don't come in and get your teeth done because you're breaking our chairs. I think they phrased it another way.
But they did put it very polite, a bit politer than you just implied.
Yeah.
It was done in a polite way.
That was the essence of
Yeah, that was the
letter.
essence of it, yeah. I kind of say, I kind of see the dentist point on this. And like some of the, I think that his patients were they patients? I don't know. Dentist people are patients.
Yeah, patients. Yeah.
Yeah. They were saying it was fat shaming, but I don't think it's necessarily fat shaming. I think it's just being practical. However, on the other side, there is, you know, they do have a case in terms of breaking the law because if it's obesity, you know, with a disability, then that is one of the protected characteristics.
Oh,
but
yeah,
unfortunately, there's no way to protect your chair.
I've got an underlying health condition. Oh, it's my glands, it's my whatever it is.
Well,
it's
these
like,
things
man, how come
real.
when you go to starvation zone, there's no fat people sitting there being like, oh, it must just be my hormones. You know what I mean? It's like, no, if you eat less food, you lose weight.
So that was a bit where you just wanted to have a little go at fat people, and that's fine. I was just saying, I was just kind of agreeing with you. I was just agreeing with you.
They should get those harnesses that they carry like rhinos that they've like shot with a tranquilizer
Well, is that like
dart.
the Channel 4 documentary where they have to be like literally craned out of their house?
Dismantle the whole side of a house.
Yeah, well then that way, surely they've already got a chair that you could probably do the dental work on. Just take the dental, have an out call.
You know, very often when people decide to go on a diet, there's a tipping point moment. Back in the day, it used to be holiday photos, didn't it? You know, people would look at a picture of themselves on holiday and go, "Oh my God,
yeah.
I need to," you know. And you get it with smoking, you get it with drinking. There's a sort of tipping point moment when somebody that wants to change their life kind of thinks, "Right, now's the moment." Do you not think that for the country, the moment is when people are so big they're breaking dentists' chairs? Is that not the point at which we have a conversation about
I think that's like,
relations?
you know, that lockdown way might need to be shifted.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a judgment-free zone from me because I just think we live in a toxic food environment.
No, I agree.
Where we're surrounded by junk.
Delicious
You
food.
know, and I sympathise with people who are overweight because I think it's no different to a smoker on 20 a day. That so much of the food that we eat is highly addictive, very processed, and therefore, but weve got to do something, haven't we? Rather than just
I agree, you
accommodate
do,
this.
but you do look at, like, you know, obesity is kind of really like it's a socio-economic thing as well. It's
I don't buy that,
how many rich fat people do you know?
So many.
Look at that King Henry guy. King Henry, the
King
whatever,
Henry
that killed
is
all his
proper
wives.
dead. He's dead. He's gone.
But when he was alive,
he was alive.
enormous.
It's because he ate all the chicken and then threw the chickens behind him. That's why.
You are absolutely right that obesity particularly impacts the poorest, and I totally agree with you.
And also,
but the whole of society is overweight now. The nation's BMI is too high. The prediction
are you
is
saying
that
our post-lockdown, or are you saying like even before lockdown
as well? You know, the whole country has put on weight.
Because it's interesting you said that if you like see a photo of a beach and stuff, or you know, you think, oh my God, I need to lose weight. And I think actually, what the last years have done, we don't have to look at ourselves. We don't have to, you know. I think when I started working here, it was like, oh my God, what clothes do I wear? What do I do? What do I do with my makeup? I don't, because I was totally out of the loop of you know, kind of like. And all my friends were the same. And now we're all a bit too anxious to see each other because it's like I had a reunion with some uni friends recently and I was like, oh no. And I think everybody was feeling that. It was like, oh man, like lockdown. I could have had those 2 years to kind of, you know, get my beach body sort of thing.
Well, that's it. Look, it's interesting. It is a conversation that will continue, but I guess, you know, I think the problem will get so huge, no pun intended, that we've got to do something. Sajila, tomorrow's Metro has given me an idea for a possible new career if things get tough.
Oh God, this has made me feel a bit ill. Putin's guards apparently collect his poo on trips abroad and take it back to Russia. And I'd love to see the morning debrief in Kremlin, like, who's collecting Vlad's poo, lads? You know, it's just like, so apparently Vladimir Putin is paranoid, and his bodyguards, his special bodyguards, or otherwise known as the, you know, the ones that drew the short straw, when he goes abroad, they collect his poo and take it back to Russia with him, and they have it in a special dedicated briefcase.
It's called the Putin.
The Putin, the Putin. That was a good.
Nicely done.
That was good.
That's why we pay the big bucks. Give this man a pay rise.
Yeah, my defecated suitcase is better though. Anyway, basically he is okay. So there's actually a more serious point to this. we've talked about it before, that he might be ill. There might be something that he's wrong with him. And somebody's saying that he might have some kind of cancer, and which means that he has only got 2 or 3 years to live. And that is a really important fact to know, because that means that we don't know what he would do. If you've only got a little time to live, he could, you know, whatever he's got left, all those bombs, it can like be, he's got nothing to lose. Because he's, you know, and that would be a way to go, just like get rid of everybody and get rid of everything. So it is quite dangerous.
Or he can find God and make peace with everybody.
He's not likely to do that.
What was interesting, Joseph Stalin spied on Mao Zedong, the former leader of China, when he came to visit in Russia. So Stalin had Mao Zedong's poo collected and analysed for any health issues that could give him any sort of leverage or information or intelligence. Maybe it's a Russian thing.
Yeah, but I imagine just like a little person just kind of like, right, you know, that's it, you're the poo collector, and just sort of kind of waiting with just catch it, because like mustn't ruin it.
What a great gig.
Yeah.
Well, look, what about the Sunday Express, Leo? A poll showing who the UK really wants in charge.
Yes, so the Express conducted a poll to see who they would prefer to replace, world leaders who they prefer to replace Boris Johnson. And Donald Trump, even though he's not a world leader, he came in first. 26% of the British voters, they say, but it's people who responded to an Express poll, so it's not quite the sort of, you know, a sample across the nation. Boris Johnson came in number one, way ahead of Macron, who came in, I think, third or fourth with only 7%. So Ursula von der Leyen came in second with 16%. Joe Biden came in with 12%. Putin came in with just 1% of the votes. I mean, it's not much of a choice. Trump, von der Leyen, like, I mean, Darth Vader, like one of the Chuckle brothers. Like, come on, give us some proper.
I quite like the idea that if we're going to be moving migrants around, why don't we just move our world leaders around? Like they all have to do a sabbatical.
Great.
You know, a sabbatical in each country, and like, you know, Boris can go to France. Yeah. And maybe see what they've been doing, why those dinghies have been coming over, and maybe we could get Jacinta.
Yeah. God, no thanks.
No, I like Jacinta. I love going to New Zealand. I love New Zealand. But anyway, so we could just swap them around. I think that's a great idea.
Let's do it. A political merry-go-round. Sajila, tomorrow's Mirror, with a story of the worst or best example of ghosting ever.
Oh, so I slept with a man from Tinder, then found out he's married. I told his wife the truth.
But tell us the story, Sajila.
Okay,
we don't want to hear about your personal life.
Right, so the woman was basically appalled. She was dating this guy from Tinder, and then she went back to his place, like, and what an amateur. So he takes her back to the marital home, and then she goes to the bathroom. Big mistake, amateur, because he let her go to the bathroom. Women, we check your bathroom, like we take your bathroom cabinets. Yeah, we do. We check when we go into the bathroom, just see what kind of products does he use. You know, all the clues that we can get from the men, right?
What diseases has he got?
Sorry?
What diseases has he got?
What diseases has he got? Is he using blah, blah, blah? Yeah. So after lifting a towel from a set of shelves, she discovered a women's toiletries, including hair products. This was especially surprising to our lady here, given that her date, who'd previously told her he was divorced, was bald. So who did these hair products belong to? So, but short of it, she was so angered by this. She was a bit humiliated, so she thought she'd share it with like billions of her what's that thing called?
Followers.
Yeah, followers on TikTok. And then she asked TikTok, what should I do? And they said, tell the wife. So she did. And she filmed herself telling the wife and had the wife's reaction. And I'm thinking, OK, so you're not it's not doing it so altruistically. You're doing it really for your career. This is a career kind of relationship. But yeah, that's it, basically. Would you tell your... If you dated someone...
If you found out, I'm not sure. It's quite a dilemma. It does. One of my friends, funnily enough, when WhatsApp first came out, he messaged his wife. He sent a picture of his genitals to his wife, but also thought he'd send the picture to his mistress as well.
Get the value out of that photo.
He didn't realise it would create a group, a WhatsApp group.
A WhatsApp group with his wife and his mistress.
He put his phone back in his pocket. The two women ended up talking, being like, "Who on earth are you? Who on earth are you?" And then they ended up. He went home. Went home at the end of the day, and they're both in the house. They've made friends, and his wife decided to boot him out. So
that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
He's a comedian.
I mean, the nearest I've got is like me and Susie Bennett, another comedian, who basically
wonderful comedian.
We should probably move on, shouldn't we?
No, go on.
No, okay. So yeah, we both this guy started chatting to us on Facebook, and he was talking to me and to Susie at the same time. And I said, oh my God, he's talking to me, he's talking to you. do. So we passed the information around, and it was just like a roundabout of all this information. Yeah.
It all comes
and then
full
blocked
circle.
him.
Thank you to the brilliant Sajila Kershi and the marvellous, the excellent Leo Kearse. I'm back tomorrow at 9 with the Hamiltons live in the studio for our 1-year anniversary special. See you then.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and every weekday we bring you The Briefing live from 9:30 a.m. The stories, analysis, and live debate that you need to hear.
Quite right, Tom, of course.
Was this something that had been considered at all?
Difficult to answer.
Gas-guzzling helicopters circling. Noise is being made here.
Joe Biden walking out. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. on GB News.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us